Our guest today needs no introduction, but we'll give one anyway. She is an innovative safety leader in a FTSE 100 company. She's an amazing mother and lover of spicy margaritas. It's Crystal Danbury.
Welcome to Firewatch, Crystal.
Well, thank you very much for having me, guys. I'm really looking forward to get into it and being part of the next Firewatch episode.
So, Crystal, for anybody that doesn't know you, would you be able to just give us a quick sort of intro to yourself and a little overview of your career and how you got to where you are?
Oh, nice. Okay, so intro to self, Crystal Danbury. I am a mum of two wonderful kids. I live in Buckingham and I've worked in the health and safety profession for 22 and a half years. Before that was a cleaner and made pizza, and accidentally got a job on a nuclear site as a trainee, and then just fell in love. So I was the best way to describe it would be my job was to keep everybody safe and clean up nuclear spills. And if people got contaminated or places got contaminated, I would mop them up. So I loved it. Very on the tools, climbing stacks, wading rivers, getting absolutely filthy every day, frequently throwing clothes away because they got contaminated. It was wicked. And then the reason that role pushed me through into long-term leadership, which is where I am now, is because there was a really big divide between frontline staff, which is what I was, at risk every day, and then leadership. And I was like, this can't be how the world operates. So subsequently, over the next, I would say I spent 5 years in that role. So the next 17 and a half years, I did a qualification every year for 10 years while working full time. And then I went from nuclear to rail, logistics, transport, telecoms, which was my first director of FTSE 100 role, and then into retail at FTSE 100 level as well. So I've been in leadership roles for probably the last decade. And then my speciality is changing culture and safety simplification. So I adore it and genuinely would do nothing else. I can't ever see myself not working where I protect something and make it simpler to be safe. So that's probably me in a nutshell.
What was the moment where you realised that you had the passion for health and safety?
I think it was, interestingly, I think it was the passion for leadership first. But I think I naturally have always been quite empathic. I will look after anybody. I will help a granny in the street. It's just been my demeanour forever. And I would say what it really started with is we were quite low paid as the juniors. So when I started with in a team of 22, and I think there was one person under 50, pretty much. So they were all older, white men, and I went in and they were like, "Oh, this is a bit weird." And then when I had landed well, and they realised that youth could work really hard, and I definitely like to get filthy dirty, we started to employ younger team members. And then there was this sort of disparity between what the youngers were paid. I didn't really care about me. I was having a lovely time. But what the younger gen were paid versus the older gen, and there wasn't really any fair or any parity. So for me, I was like, well, I'm going to have to advocate for these people. And at the same time, my day-to-day job was pretty epic in that I got to practice nuclear response on a very frequent basis. So I got to put BA on, I get to decontaminate buildings, I got to decontaminate people. I became a national responder to nuclear events by I was like 19 or 20.
Oh, that's impressive.
I was like,
That's some going.
who does not want to do this?
Yeah.
I was like, would you like to wear BA if a train ever crashed and there was something nuclear on there? Like, yeah, like tee me up. So I think the love for responding to negative event and to fix something was just like naturally in my bones. So here's a massive disaster. Can you fix it? Of course I can. So yeah, sort of tying the two together, like advocating for the little guy as well as responding to negative events and understanding the behavior that led to negative events. I would say it was also very natural to me. Like, why did she cut that corner and break that file? Like, what happened? So that all that was sort of married together and then led into a huge passion for getting the paper I needed to lead at a bigger level and do more of it.
Yeah. When we spoke previously, you mentioned like your approach when you first enter an organisation is to ask the question, who are we hurting? Where did that sort of stem from for you then?
Oh, do you know what? I think it was probably lots of years of getting the questions wrong, actually asking the wrong questions and being like, why aren't I getting it? Why don't I feel like I'm understanding more? And I did an art of works course So it's like there's like different approaches in safety, because I know you guys are really like it's fire is the world. So in my broader lens of safety, there are different approaches, and they're called safety 1, safety 2, safety differently, and a million other things. And they basically taught you the difference between being really compliance focused, which is like we'll retrofit a local solution, and then over here on a safety differently was to ask better questions and really understand people's thought patterns and behaviours around bad events, negative events. And in there was just a moment where they said, what about wonderful questions you could ask when investigating work real time? So don't just turn up at work in the workplace when something's gone wrong. Turn up every day, ask a better question, understand what the worst day at work looks like. And it was that triggered the question that somebody said, we used to, I heave at myself, we used to ask, like, it's a safe space. You know, when do you break the rules, or what pushes you to break the rules? You're asking somebody to admit to a leader when they break a rule. Don't be ridiculous, right? But a better question to ask would be, what's been your worst day at work lately? And just listen. And what you're absolutely going to hear is, when it was pedal to the metal, the worst case scenario is what they had to do. And you'll learn around that when people have to cut a corner is a better question. So it led me to, not can I have all your stats and trends, please? And what's your fatality weighted index and all that nonsense? It's just like, who do we hurt? Where do we hurt them? And how often do we hurt them? And to what extent? They're the only really 4 things that you need to know when you go into an org to start making a plan to investigate it.
I guess that feeds into the culture then as well, doesn't it? You're making people feel valued, and you're making people feel heard. Like just by letting them talk and understanding the challenges that they face on the ground.
Yeah, it's. I think there is a huge industry around culture, particularly safety culture, but there isn't really a difference between business culture and safety culture. If the business culture is rich and good, it's taking care of its people before its profit, because they understand people make the profit. So to go in and ask good questions, rich questions, you're starting to change how people talk to each other. You're starting to change how people also think about the safety professional wandering into their workplace.
Have your values always aligned with the organisation that you've worked for? Or if not, how have you navigated that?
I would say, and it's interesting because I think they naturally don't align. Earlier on in my career, they never ever aligned, but I see that as my purpose. So if my purpose is to ensure nobody, and this is like my belief system, nobody has to swap their body or their mind to pay their rent and eat food. Nobody should have to do that, particularly when people get rich at the end of it, right? So it's wrong to expect that of people. That's just like a core mission that should be a mission in like everybody's life. To go in where that's not the case, I find that to be my purpose there, which is there is so much research around money that's lost. GDP just lost the economy through ill health at work, through major events. Even the old research used to say if somebody had a major fire, it was 5 years till they were out of business, because actually catching up from major fires and things like that is almost impossible. So I think if it's not the value of the organisation when I get there, to me, I'm not allowed to leave until it is.
Yeah.
Until people are seen as the gift that creates the widget, that creates the profit, that creates the success. I can't leave. That is the mission.
You're obviously incredibly driven and, you know, incredibly successful, but have you ever gone somewhere and gone, no, this is too much? Or as in, I can't make a change here. It's physically not possible for me to make the change.
I've been to one place where, not that it was too much, but there wasn't actually quite enough to fix. So coming from at the beginning, you can't really get any dyes through the nuclear, right? So cyclotrons, all of those sorts of things. You can't, right. And I didn't even work in the big gnarly sort of nuclear subs or anything like that. This was like a radiopharmaceutical site with cyclotrons and radioactive cancer treatments that were being made. But I sort of went through, and then I went into rail, which was nice, like punchy risk. I was able to do all the training around working trackside, and like it was all lush. And then I took a little jolly out into a low risk industry, which was actually the gambling industry. So I worked for the National Lottery for a while. And that was so hard because I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do here? So they were literally like, oh God, it was just so bougie to be there, right? And I thought lottery equals like charity equals community equals whatever, and you forget it's gambling. It's hardcore gambling. And then we'd sit every Monday morning and they'd tell us all of the numbers, the massive amounts of numbers that would be spent on a weekly basis on each type of product line. And I just thought, oh, I can't do this. Like the risk was really low, the profits were really high, but the profits were coming from something that I couldn't get on board with, I couldn't align to. So I put my flag up actually at that point to be like, right, I'm going to go do something in the rail industry. We're like, oh, we will allow you to cut if you come back here before going anywhere else. We'll allow you to write your own job description, your own role, whatever you want it to be. We'll match the money. Just come back. So I was like, this is perfect. So I got to write all of the really cool stuff. So I took on emergency planning, fire arrangements for the rail industry. After doing some local stuff with the rail company, claims, the legal stuff, I got really involved in all of that. But yeah, I would say that gambling industry, I just couldn't. It was like a data center and offices, whereas I'm like, where's the big risk? I need it. So yeah, that was probably the only industry I was like, ooh, in and out. Just thanks very much.
So from a harm perspective, then it's not just necessarily physically what will go wrong. Like from what you just said, it's a mental thing too.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. And I think this is the bit that's just starting to hit the rubber starting to hit the road. The regulators starting to change their focus as well. There is most of the industries that I've worked in, you see people get assaulted. You see quite a lot of crime. You also see when there's an accident, like if there's an accident in rail or a suicide in rail, it's impactful, right? You see lots of awful stuff. So I've always worked in spaces where your psychological health has to be on point. You can't get into a cyclotron and know you're going to get a year's worth of radioactive sort of radiation dose in 18 minutes and get accurate. You have to be on point. You mentally have to be clear. So everywhere I've worked, the mental health of people and the psychological safety of people has been really cool. So it's interesting now the regulators getting interested. We do it 22 and a half years. It's always been on my radar, but I'm talking to other professionals and it's just creeping up. But I think that's probably the difference between real high risk industry and not. I mean, if you think about things like construction, it's got the highest suicide rate of any profession, and that's not down to physicality, it's due to like mental health and mental impact. So 100% it's got to be even. I work on 4 quadrants, which is like when you're looking at a strategy, it's got to be physical and mental health, and it's got to be psychological and physical safety. So health and safety for me is always all 4 of those.
We speak to other professionals and they struggle sometimes with the battle between commercial pressures and then safety as well.
Yeah.
What sort of advice, if you like, would you give to them, or what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's such a nice question actually, because I think typically when you're having dicey conversations with people about, you just don't get it. We have to deliver X and Y, and the pressure's the pressure, the resource is the resource, and the money is the money. I do something for the last 10 years, actually, as I go into organizations, do something called the true cost of harm, which is I'm going to play back to you. I'm going to do all the research. I'm going to pull all of your absence. I'm going to put all of your accidents. I'm going to pull all of your insurance and all of your claims and all of your systems that you pay for over this sort of really pressurized period. And I'm going to tell you what you already lose as a result of the quality of safety that we are enacting right now. And then tell me if that number is comfortable. And if that number is comfortable, then you're exactly where you want to be. That's perfect. But typically that number is eye-watering and shocking. So when people talk about commercial pressure, one of the things I can say to them is, would you like a massive slice of this pie back? Because if you would, then we need to think about the health of people to get them back to work. We need to think about your onboarding and offboarding and back to work process. We need to think about harm and hazard. And we need to think about when we remove a cause, if you've got 20,000 sites, remove the cause at 20,000 sites, please. don't let everybody get hurt by the same thing. So that wider root cause piece is really essential. But I would say people feel they're a conflict, but it's back to that original purpose, which is the people create your product, they create your success. And typically people aren't aware, and boards as well, unless your safety professionals are doing it, they're not aware of the level of loss from safety at its current level. And that gets people quite uncomfortable.
How important do you think courage is for a health and safety professional?
What a great question.
We're full of them,
I would
Crystal. This is
say,
what FireWatch do.
listen, far away. Listen, no pun intended. Far away. Love the great questions. I would say courage has to be the second most important characteristic of a health and safety. I would say leader. I'm doing a lot of this at the moment. People just assume everyone wants to be a leader, but some people just like, I like the data, or I like the thing, like, let me just touch that. I don't need to have a big heart and a big compass, but I'm really good at this compliance part. If you want to be a leader, I say you have to truly care. And I mean truly at your core, any day, worst day ever, care about people at work. That's number one. The other one is 100% courage, because I say most of my career, I wrote it this morning actually. I was like, I don't know what my skill set is. I'm not sure. And my wonderful guy, that fire expert, Mark Tatney, retired 2 years ago. He said to me once, we took him out for a retirement coffee, he said, I don't know what your skill set is. I can't put my finger on it. All I know is I've never seen it before. And I said, one of my skills is my skill to be hated and be fine with it. My skill to not need permission to say a terrible thing that is true. And my permission to just have you basically dreading me walking in the room until the day that it clicks for you that I'm here to help you. So I can just be really consistent and resilient to your journey from not getting it to getting it. Like I can tolerate you being like, oh, eye roll, and then just one day I see it click for you. Perfect. Like that's, I can be here and I can be the punching bag for as long as you need me to be, because I know where we're going to get to, which is, oh my God, people are the actual answer to this problem. Like, yeah, they are. So yeah, I think, I don't know if that answers your question.
No,
courage number 2 for sure.
It does. I've heard on the grapevine that you've got a mantra that is making it as simple as possible to be as safe as possible. You created that?
I did, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So, the one of my really big bugbears, and again, right back to the formation of my journey in safety, in nuclear, you can't afford fluff. A process to get you from safe to safer has to be the quickest possible route. So then going into rail and going into logistics and going into transport, and people love these big management systems, lots of paper. And I used to have this phrase, which is, I'm not sure I've ever seen a safety report that says Jeff was saved by the management system at the bottom of his ladder. Like, it doesn't exist. Paper doesn't save anyone. Paper is a record of what you promised to do.
Yeah.
And we love to create the paper, right? And we very rarely drive the adherence or the actual practice in the workplace, because we're so busy looking. And then, worst of all, checking the paper. Whole industry from checking the paper. Shoot me, please. Jesus Christ. Like, can we just know what hurts people, train them that it hurts them and in what way it will hurt them, and tell them what we have done to protect them and what their role is? That's it. We don't need to do anything else. Just do those things. And it comes from all of the rules, all of the things around nuclear. There's just one phrase that is most important, and it's double the distance, quarter the dose. And it's if you are 1 meter away from a nuclear source, if you step back 2 meters, you've quartered your dose. And it was like, it is that simple. Like, even in the nuclear industry, being safer is step back, double your distance. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. So basically, everywhere that I've gone into, the first thing I've pretty much done is throw matches at anything that's a massive bit of paper. Just be like, that ain't doing anything. Let's burn it down. And then also, anything that doesn't directly manage a risk, anything that you've designed to make yourself feel better, typically the person doing the hardest work for the least money is having to execute that process. How dare you? How dare you? So if it doesn't manage a risk specifically, take it out. And then my boss in my last workplace said, like, what's the sort of the mission here. And I said it for him. He was a lawyer, and I was like, the very easiest way that I can articulate this to you is my mission is to make it as simple as possible to be as safe as possible, because the journey from A to B must be as quick as possible. It can't be about anyone's comfort that's not there dealing with the risk. So that's what it was. And I basically said it in a meeting once, and he was like, I need it on a badge.
Write that down quick.
Is that the mantra that your team currently are working from? That is what you've sort of embedded into them as well?
Yeah, so interesting actually. I think I just saw it on LinkedIn. One of my team used it as their quote in terms of what the mission is, to make it as simple as possible to be as safe as possible. So it is, I'd say the strategy that I've just wrapped had it embedded in its core purpose, which was to reduce basically complexity, harm, and costs associated with how we do health and safety, because we just ask for a lot of time, a lot of labour, a lot of everything when creating unnecessary process. So that's really been dug into them for 3 years. But I have a ton of mantras. Like the other one in terms of career, not safety related, is and it's just been on another podcast that they seem to really like, which is go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. So my lot have probably got a little list of little crystal mantras, but yeah, that's the core one embedded in all of my strategies.
You've spoken openly in the past about being a female in a male-dominated industry. Have you ever felt underestimated, and how did you respond to that?
Oh, every day. Yeah, absolutely. I would say, I don't think there has been a year in my 22 and a half where I've not been massively underestimated. But I'll say back to that resilience piece, as well as walking in a room. So, and I'll give you the nicest, most hurtful compliment I ever got, right? Which was about being underestimated. In my last job, I was hired. I actually got turned down for a job that I applied for to be picked up for the biggest job in group. They were like, she doesn't need that, she needs this, right? So they turned me down over here, come and got me. And it was the first director position I'd ever had. And then one Christmas we went out and we'd given my boss some champagne. And he'd said, I've had 2 champagne moments. He was just about to retire. 2 champagne moments in my career. And I was like, oh, tell me about those. And he said they were people related. And I was like, oh, tell me about those. And he said one of them was my successor. So pointed to an incredible woman called Sophie, who was going to take over his role. And he said, and you were my second. And I was like, oh, how amazing. Tell me about it. And he said, the first job that you went for, I scanned the pack and I looked at you and thought, they've put that in there for equality purposes, but never mind. So, right? And he said, and the next sentence was, then you walked into a room and nobody stood up, Crystal. Like nobody stood up to you. You blew them out of the water. It was only ever going to be from the second that was it. It was done. And I remember leaving that room, the interview room, and being like, that dude must hate me, because he just stared at me the entire time with like wide eyes. And what he was telling me then made sense. He was like, it was just you. But to see the CV in a pack, to see the background, to see no university, to see the fact I was female, all of that stuff, for the automatic reaction to be that I was a gender card or an age card was heartbreaking. And the one thing I would say is I've never gone for a job or an interview where I didn't get the job ever. And I assume that's because that's what happens when I come in and I lay down everything that I've done, and you get to talk to me before, and you get to push through your biases, all the things that you might be thinking. But working really, really early on in career as well, the actual treatment of women on a nuclear site with a bunch of 50-year-old men, you can probably imagine the amount of really inappropriate behaviour. But yeah, absolutely everywhere. But I would say one of the things that people underestimate has become, I think, my sort of superpower. So I started cleaning toilets and making pizza and piecing together little bits of money so I could keep my little flat alive. And I've always said this, nothing teaches you customer service, like serving drunk Jeff at 2 o'clock in the morning who thinks he ordered 2 pizzas and he's only ordered one, right? So nothing teaches you patience, nothing teaches you money, nothing teaches you any of those things other than really getting dirty and working very hard for a living. So, and I don't think the underestimation of women, particularly in this profession, which is predominantly men, it's shifting, but predominantly men. I don't think that's going to be over for quite some time, but really, really important, I would say, for women to be given space. So even you giving space to people on this podcast that are incredible leaders, incredible women in fire, all of those things, without putting a massive label on, say this is a female podcast or whatever, just creating space and visibility of talent that is not male is great work. So yeah, I'd say all the time, underestimated. But it is also my life's purpose, so everyone just has to get used to it.
Sounds like it can go two ways. Either you can really let it concern you and take you back, or you can let it fuel your fire. And the purpose of proving to people that this is who I am, I can do this job, regardless of what you think. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something in it where I would happily say no one will outwork or outdo what I can deliver for an organization, but it's about fit, isn't it? Whereas I think quite different approaches. I'm sort of heart-led, people are the focus, realign the team to people being like the winning factor of any organization, but the business kind of also will see that at interview stage, and if it's not really where they're going, they don't have to hire me. But I would say underneath all of it, I don't ever feel angry with somebody that's underestimated me, really interestingly, because it's been 22 years, you sort of get used to it. What I think about is actually the amount of unconscious bias that's drilled into people without them knowing how they were raised, what they saw, but who they've been working around for decades and decades. And I have a really unique ability to then just work well in front of them and show them the difference. So I don't think I've ever been angry about it. I just think it's a shifting tide, and the more present I am, the better I am. The tide will change, just like it'll be 1 degree at a time, right?
What would is there anything that you would say to other female leaders, and like any advice that you'd give to them? So I know that you do a lot of work with other female leaders as well, wanting to improve or like enhance their careers in health and safety.
Yeah. I would say my biggest piece of advice is to get your cheerleaders, for sure. And that could be in and out of work. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the workplace. But I have a really, really incredible group of female friends that are all in ridiculous jobs, really intelligent women. And we just have a promise to each other, which is we have a little chat, a little WhatsApp chat. And if we've got an interview or if we're having a moment, we've got a presentation, or we want to just be like, we've done something really cool.
Just celebrating each other.
Chat.
Yeah.
For sure. And the celebration is massive. And then we meet every 6 months. We pick a city in the UK, all get trains there. We meet, we have a very drunken brunch. But we sort of really focus on each other. Like, what are the blockers? Who's in their own head? Like, who's actually getting in their own way thinking they can't do it? We stop that. Right? That's you're ridiculously talented. Don't let your internal monologue steal that from you. And I would say for the younger women coming through the ranks that reach out quite often, it's usually my go-to, which is find your cheerleaders. Step 1, you must believe in your competence and ability more than anyone believes in your. Don't rest on somebody else outside telling you can. You must know you can, right? And that is, you can achieve the mission. All the bits along the way will just organically manifest. That will just happen, but know what the mission is. And then the other bit is really, really go where you are celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Lots and lots of women that I know sit in jobs because they're like, I don't want it to beat me, but this is a really terrible place to be. Just leave. In 5 years' time, you will have got 5 years under your belt somewhere else that appreciates you. So yeah, they would be like my golden rules, but cheerleader's the biggest.
We've heard about your successes, but here on Firewatch, we want to expose some failures as well. Have you ever had something that's a failure but has taught you more, like served you a lesson more so than a success ever would have?
It's interesting because I can say I feel like I fail every time somebody gets hurt. And large scale failures, I'd say I've probably, and there's no specific event, but there's probably something that I fall over on, and that is, some people do this so exceptionally well as well, but man-marking those stakeholders, not just the ones that are directly receiving what you're giving, but the peripheral ones that are the influencers. And I would say in my last workplace, I was really targeted on A and D and my stakeholders, because they get the service that I'm delivering to them. It's their operations that I look after. But the influences around those people, I didn't infiltrate. I didn't get on board with. I didn't make time for the coffees or the teas or the what's going on in the broader picture for you guys. And it actually got to the point when rubber hit the road and it got really dicey and really tricky there. Lots of bad things were sort of happening. I was a little bit like having to start from scratch, getting and building relationships with people while something bad was happening, which is actually not where you want to be. When something bad happens, you want to be already very embedded in those influences. So I'd say in my last role, it was my first director role at the very beginning. It was so big, it felt intimidating. So I thought I'd never work anywhere bigger. It was 46,000 people. And then I come to where I am, and that's literally peanuts in comparison for the size. But I would say that I came a cropper there, in terms of you can't build stakeholder relationships during an emergency, and that taught me an awful lot. I've done that here in building my new strategies, where I've been like, who are the peripheral influences as well, and who do I really need to help me create meaning and credibility of the bigger plan, not just telling two people what I'm going to do. So I'd say I definitely felt like I had fallen over on that, on proper stakeholder mapping, not just people receiving service, but the influence of the influencers too. So that was probably a big learning point for me. That was probably now 10 years ago, something like that. But it was a hard lesson to be like, oh, why do I feel like I'm treading water? Everyone should automatically care. It's an emergency. So you didn't do any of that connecting dots piece before. So yeah, that's probably a big career. And actually, that can really accelerate your career if you get that right. If you're a stakeholder genius, doors open everywhere.
Where do you feel, as a safety manager, where do you feel your responsibility ends versus where does it actually end? So, for example, you've put so many procedures in place. You've got the building in the most tip-top shape possible in terms of fire, everything else, security. Someone comes in off the street and throws a bomb into the building, for example.
Yeah.
Is that for you to have planned for, or is that, say, a random occurrence that no one could have possibly known? Or like, where does it end? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that, because I'd say for all safety professionals, it probably varies where they feel they start and end, depending whether compliance-driven, care-driven, whatever. To your example, which I love, by the way,
I know it was a bit extreme.
Perfect building, perfect people, absolute scumbag comes and blows up, like, terrible. It's your responsibility. I feel it's my responsibility to horizon scan, to think about what could go wrong and to drill it. Like, my responsibility in that scenario would be to ensure the organisation knows what to do post a disaster. Forget the specific, but a disaster. And actually, I was writing down, because I think I told you guys just before we hit record, I was such a good girl today. I made some notes, just to sort of add some reflective notes. And I was thinking about emergency planning and fire. I was thinking, what is my role to play? What do I believe my role to play is? And I wrote down 4 words, which was plan, drill, support, protect. So to have the plan, to drill it to death, to protect people, to know that you can have the infrastructure to protect people day to day, and then to support them when it's gone wrong. Back to that psychological and physical piece, because being part of a disaster or responding to one is horrific for people. So, but I do have a really interesting story that when I wrote my job description going back into rail, I had like the best drill training, emergency plan training in the nuclear industry. So I brought that to my little company. And I was like, we're gonna run an emergency exercise live because we need to drill it. And they were like, we don't do that in rail. What are you on about? We just write it on paper and we just tick the boxes if someone gives the right answer. And I was like, well, we're not going to do that. And they wanted me to go away so badly. They were like, right, we're going to give you £1,000 if you can run an emergency exercise. Lol, on that, have a great time. Well, I did, because I got in my car and I knocked on police, ambulance, fire crew in my own time, acting schools. I got everybody to turn up for free. I got smashed cars on the track. I got Network Rail involved. I got everything involved. And I got a stagecoach school to do their like curriculum and to test everybody's acting skills by being all the victims. So we did a full scale, and we used our £1,000 to pay the train driver overtime on a Sunday to pull the train in. So I did the entire thing, and it changed the way the rail industry drill. So literally now people do live exercises and they've never done them before. And I had to go to this like industry meeting with all the emergency planners, and some dude said to me, but when is it enough? When is it, when is it enough that you've drilled enough, you've practiced enough? And my response, and I still remember it, I felt so sure, probably my entire career. I said, when you feel confident that you can manage a disaster, do you right now feel confident that if you press the button, everyone knows exactly what they should do and how to take care of people? And the look of dread, I was like, then you haven't done enough. That's it. So yeah, that's probably what I would say is have the plan, understand the risks, horizon scan it, drill it to bits, and know how to support people when it goes wrong. Because the world is a really, really, really complex place. Zero harm isn't real. Big events will happen. Weather happens, disasters happen, crime happens, etc. Your job is just to say, what is it that I understand my risks are, and how can I prepare myself and others to deal with that risk? That's it. That's all you can do.
You briefly mentioned emerging risks there, Crystal. Are there any emerging risks that you're currently facing in your role at the moment?
I would say, so I think the emerging risks actually hit so many industries, but I would say with a really pressurized scenario of increased inflation, increased crime, increased theft equals usually more harm and aggression in the workplace. We have that playing out. You'd see that in rail, you'd see that in retail, you'd see that for the emergency services and hospitals, you name it. The less money to go around equals more crime, bigger appetite, and more violence to go with it. It's a really, really, really tricky place to be. So yeah, I'd say when those things come together, you've got a real recipe for disaster. And I used to work with a wonderful woman. She's now a consultant, but she specializes in emergency planning and this sort of like crime space. Her name's Helen Clayton, and she is incredible. And the stuff that she was talking back to me about, this sort of like perfect trifecta of increased inflation and cost of living crisis equals more demand for stolen goods equals those that needed still a little bit to get by steal way more. Those that are professional there's much bigger benefits because the demand is so much higher that it's this little trifecta of hell really for anyone working in a forward facing industry. So I wouldn't even say that's emerging, I'd say it's happening now. Yeah.
We're seeing lots of advances in technology. Have you started using AI at all in your role? And what's your opinion on the future of AI? What does that look like in this sort of safety space?
Oh, so I love this topic of AI. I use it in a lot of different. Just write down this before I forget it. So I use Copilot. We're looking at it. We use it for data. And then we've got our systems piece. So I would say, I think there is a place for AI everywhere. I think everyone's freaking out about AI now because the same way they did Google and all of those sorts of things, it's all very new, but it will just become part and parcel of how we work. Lots of questions are usually typically around those junior roles. Lots of people worrying that AI will start to take away sort of the high admin, low competency roles in teams, all the data crunching, the analytics sides of the safety worlds or any worlds really. But the one phrase that I'm using at the moment really clearly, another little mantra, is AI won't take your job, but somebody that knows AI will. So somebody can roll up to an interview, and you roll up to an interview and they said, I can do half of that job and deliver these better metrics and this better service because I know AI backwards. You're going to miss out. And so it's sort of your duty to get really under the skin of it. And in terms of, for me, I find AI, we've started to really pump loads of our data into it and say, tell me if there is anything that we've noticed A, B, and C in this data. Is there anything we haven't noticed in this data? And the fact that it can go out into all of our systems and cross correlate what's going on in other departments along with our data, it's been so eye-opening, and it's definitely starting to pull together threads that we would never have been able to see. So from a data perspective, phenomenal. And then also we are looking at one of our really traditional things in the safety industry. Everyone has to have, or the safety profession, everyone has to have a management system, a documented management system. And we're just starting to take all of that really complex paper and build it into an AI system where anybody that is operational can just punch in keywords and it'll pop up with what they, I'm about to clean a floor. What do I need to know? And it pops up with, this is how you manage CFIOSH, and this is how we deal with equipment, or this is how you report burns, whatever it might be. So we're starting to use that to be able to give a better service to our operation too. Just a much cleaner, simpler way to do it.
No, that makes sense. I know from like a health and safety point of view, people are a little bit scared almost that, because you see it in the news, it replaces humans, whereas health and safety is so human orientated. It's good to hear how you're embracing it and helping it improve your processes as opposed to being scared of it and not wanting to embrace it. Right?
Well, I mean, I think about one of the things I know SafeLinks are doing with AI is the mapping entire buildings with AI and being able to give like never seen before clarity within millimeters on things like walkways, and also that people are picking up on that technology and being like, where else can I use this? I think when you get really curious and when you start to really think, right, I can map an entire building, bloody hell, within millimeters. So I can look at accessibility. I can validate a fire risk assessment remotely. I don't have to travel 100 miles to Scotland. This sort of thing is game changing, because one of the things that typically happens in almost any organization, as the pressure comes on the org, support functions are reviewed, right? So support functions typically, so my last team was 100 people, right? And then as time goes, as inflation hits, as organization, you have to get really, really slick with the talent that you have. And the only way you can dovetail off that and really achieve greatness is if you start adding in things like AI to do lots and lots of the long, hard crunching of information. And one of the things like the technology that SafeLinks are starting to provide, if you've got people driving up and down the country and then people validating documentation or buildings from the outside, you can literally have an AI generated immaculate model. Oh, please, like everyone have it. It's a game changer. So yeah, I'd say definitely embracing it, really curious. But I would say, I don't know about you guys, there seems to be two approaches to AI. And that somebody will find a bit of AI they like and wonder how they can use it. Whereas I'm looking at my problems going, what can help me solve it? And if AI is the solution, I'm then like, great, then we get it. But I think trying to fight, it's like, somebody creating fire for the first time saying like, I wonder how many different ways we can use that, but solve the problem. It's dark in here, light the fire. So I'm more of a solutions person. Look at my problems. Is there technology, or is there AI, or is there a system that can help me do this? One of the things I am seeing AI do, which I think is really cool, is one of the risks that plays out when we have things like management systems that are written is multilingual communities. And the fact that when they go to report something or read something, it's not typically in their mother tongue. And there are companies like EcoPortal, for example, that have an app, and you literally press record, it's all in your language. And then when it reports it literally converts it to English for the other side. And you're like, what do you mean? Our amazing Lithuanian or Romanian colleagues can just be like, I've hurt myself, in their mother tongue, and we get that information in English. I'm like, thank you. How much better and easier is it for them to just get back to work now they've done what they need to do, and we can do what we can? Like, game changer.
We use it in like so many different ways, don't we? Like even down to minuscule things like route planning, for example. If if you've got to go and some sort of multi-site outfit wants loads of site surveys doing, for example, and they give you this postcode straight into Copilot or Claude or something like that. Can you please plan me a route for this? And it'll give you the most efficient route and where to go. Yeah, it is helpful. I mean, we're salespeople, aren't we? So we're hopeful that it will never take our jobs.
I will.
Won't take our jobs, far too important, but you never know.
Yeah.
So in terms of that's an emerging technology that's really exciting, onto somewhat of a more less exciting and more sort of dread-inducing event, lithium-ion batteries. So obviously, it's a massive thing at the minute, isn't it? In the industry, what else is there to say about that? Already has been said, but they're terrifying. The fires are, and as more and more cheaper technology comes in, not necessarily as regulated. You don't know the sort of origins of it, so on and so forth. And especially, again, in sort of what you do at the moment, where you could have literally anyone coming into your sites with any type of e-scooter, e-bike, watch, phone, anything. How are you sort of managing that, or how are you planning to manage that?
Yeah, so I think interesting, I've been chatting to lots and lots of peers, and you're right, lithium's probably, it would have definitely been on that emerging risk list if I'd made better notes. I think, and it's interesting, right? Because lithium batteries is not new.
They're around for so long, haven't they? People think that it is a new thing, but it's not.
Yeah. It is in the old laptop that you've got in your loft. Like, lithium has been here forever and a whole day. I think it's the ripple effect of massive uptake in the EV car world. I think we're starting to really see, so insurers have really got hold of this. They're starting to write off more and more cars. Dent a lithium battery. We're not going to just do it. You'll just write the car off because the battery's more expensive than the car. So I think what we're doing is we're getting this sort of roundhouse view of people being more and more aware of the loss and then less willing to take risk. And then you've obviously got the massive Ocado fire, which was lithium. You've got the Luton fire, the Luton car park fire, which was a standard car battery igniting a lithium battery, and it took out the car park. So I think we're now starting to see loss having landed, real numbers out there in the insurance world and the safety world and the business world. So now people are starting to get a bit scared about what this really means. So I think any safety professional working in this world is probably doing the same thing, which is, where is my lithium? Answer: everywhere. Where is my large amounts of lithium? And that could be lots of small batteries or components, or, I have EV charging points outside my office block, as an example. And then just thinking about the technology that's out there. Interestingly, the time that we have spent with you guys at SafeLinks has been super interesting to see that there is now, for the first time, technology around extinguishers being able to get on top of a lithium battery. And not just that, but your technology around the sleeve, I've been calling them sleeves. So you can literally have lithium burning in the middle and then a pallet either side with lithium batteries, and you've got the sleeves on them, and you can see this fire rage in the middle. And it keeps the next door lithium batteries in a safe condition. And your car wrap has been really interesting. And I was talking to somebody the other day, I think it was in the emergency services, about when something happens, how do you stop the chain reaction happening of
It's like the domino effect.
We've got a bay of EV cars. What the hell are we going to do when one of them is causing, or one of them's been hit, and you're like, right, we don't know what's going to happen next. To be able to pick up your car wrap and be like, right, what we can first do is take out the risk of the other lithium batteries close to it and just focus on this one risk, not a potential sort of chain reaction. So I would say lots and lots of us right now are in the exploration stage. What technology's out there, what's emerging? And you guys are probably at the cutting edge of what's really going on around the protection from lithium, I would say. Well, definitely from what I know. I stand corrected, but I'd say really impressive. Some of the footage that you guys have taken as well, and demonstrations that you've done on the batteries going up and being extinguished, it's impressive.
I think we're certainly getting there. I think the range of applications now is starting to get to the point where they can be implemented for different scenarios. You've got storage options, you've got containment options, Whereas before, people knew that it was a risk, but not necessarily how to deal with it. But I certainly think the industry itself starting to get closer. I'd like to think SafeLinks is starting to lead that as well, actually mitigating these risks safely, but also adequately. Because I know from like an insurance perspective, it's coming up more and more that they're quite concerned about the batteries, but also what policies and procedures are in place to prevent further damage, obviously damage building.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a fire specialist that basically informs insurance underwriters, right? And he was saying, I know you guys provide a cabinet where you can put all the things that you're charging with small lithium-ion batteries in. You can basically charge them within a contained cabinet that will hold a fire. So, if the small lithium batteries go up, it contains it. But we've got so much automation going on. We think about the level of automation that must be in someone like Amazon, right? And they've got 1 million mini lithium-ion batteries going through automated systems. But the warehouses in which they sit in will be insured for probably hundreds of millions. And insurers are now starting to say, well, how much is that gizmo charged by? Is it 30% charged? Is it actually sometimes they can't find the information. So insurers, with the Ocado thing now giving a true figure of what they paid out, insurers are going to be less likely to take the risk. But even the things that you guys are looking at, which is, you've dropped that thing and it's dented the battery, I can now give you a blast box that you can drop that in and we can put that in a safe space, and if it goes up it's completely away from everything else. This is the stuff that I think is really going to make a difference when having the discussion with insurers around, I can demonstrate how I can mitigate the risk from one lithium-ion battery. And from the insurers, the specialist opinion, he was like, I really like the cabinets where you charge things. It's the amount of things that are charged, whether it's a warehouse, a factory, a distribution center, you name it, the amount of walkie-talkies, headsets, all those sorts of things, anything that's just charged en masse in massive banks. And we're starting to get these sort of twitchy questions. They said, I love, you could just lock that cabinet, charge it overnight, it's safe. So even from an insurer's perspective or a specialist perspective, they're really starting to see the benefit of this designed containment solution. I think it's brilliant.
So it's such an easy fix as well, isn't it, to solve a massive problem? Just put in something like a charging cabinet and use it. Like, it is fundamentally so easy to implement.
Yeah.
But I suppose that makes your job... Oh, sorry, after you.
No, go on. I was just going to say, even try and bring that to life, it's bonkers, because it's literally, you open the cabinet, it has the sockets in the back, you just plug all your stuff in and shut the cabinet. It's just like, it's not as you haven't got to wire it in, it's not massively complicated, it's literally a cabinet, you charge stuff in and the plug's already there. Like, have a great time. This is it's a simple situation. So yeah, it's a nice, simple as possible to be as safe as possible. It's exactly what you're selling there.
Perfectly well implemented that.
Listen, done it before.
Do you think then that's going to make your job more difficult? The fact that you don't have to police it, but somehow you've got to make people put their lithium devices in said cabinet. Do you think that's something? Because you're always going to get people that are sort of resistant to change, aren't you? Do you think that's going to be easy to do?
I think it's not even just down to lithium. It's any safety process or procedure. So much of the reason that safety teams typically need operational teams is there is always going to be a deviation from a process, which is actually lots and lots of what we learned when we were studying the oh God, I don't know, I've literally already said it. Safety 1, Safety 2, Safety Differently. They talk to you about all of the million ways that people will circumnavigate. We're humans, right? We want the quickest, simplest solution. And if the quickest, simplest solution is here, which is on top of your cabinet, then that's usually what people will do, unless they really understand the reason and theory underneath it. And even then, you must admit, humans are humans. Bad days happen, rushes happen, school runs happen. People will, by accident, on purpose, behaviourally, psychologically, whatever it might be, deviate from a process. So the only thing you can do is do the best that you can at really implementing the why. Why is this cabinet safe? Why is it really important that it uses you but typically put people in the beginning, which is your workplace is protected by this device. I want you to get home. I do not want you stuck in an office at the back of this office while this goes up. So let's just look after you first. And I think that's all you can do. And that goes for anything. It's lithium, it's high risk equipment, it's working at height, it's you name it. It's, oh, I'll shoot up there on this dodgy ladder rather than go and get in the meep that I'm supposed to be using. It's all of the million things. So all safety process requires an element of human behavior is organic. So yeah, all you can really do is train, implement the why, support people, and really understand when it's deviated from why, and see if you can tackle that.
So, Crystal, I'm going to ask you a burning question. So this is a part of the podcast we do. We do it on every podcast, and this was left for you by the previous guest, Mr. Alan Oliver. His question for you is, if you had the opportunity to start again, what would you do differently?
Oh, it's a good one.
It is a good one. I think the answer to the question is I would have got ballsier quicker. I think for the first part, I know it's probably hard to think about me being really polite and quite nice, but I spent, I think, the first part of my career doing the qualifications and working to understand the risk and then be able to apply like legislation, law and practice to it. And I maintained quite an understudy vibe, which is like, I'm lucky to be here. You know, I won't ask for too much. I won't ask for any help. I don't want to raise my hand when something's happening because I don't want somebody to say that I shouldn't be in this workplace, those sorts of things. I'll give you a really horrible example of, there was a dude that I worked with once who used to slap my butt every time I walked into a building, and I didn't tell anyone for ages because I was like, oh, they're just going to say it's because I work in a male environment and this is what I've asked for. And lo and behold, when I did raise it early on, that's actually what I was told, which was like, you've chosen to work with men. This is what you have to suck up. They're like 19, tragic. So I stayed nice and quiet for quite a long time. And about 10 years in, interestingly, when I got that job that was no risk, I had some mentoring from a lady called Anna. And it was so hard. She gave me a butt whipping verbally. And it was all about like, where are you? Like, where's the tude? Where is the confidence? Well, you've done so much already. Like, where is it, mate? And I remember she just said to me, who's hiring you? And I was like, oh, I don't know. People? And she was like, no, who's hiring you? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, no one. No one's hiring you. No one's grabbing you. Where are you? I can't see you at any network events. I can't see you out there. I can't see you on podcasts. I can't see you anywhere. Where are you? Because she said the roles you want to make a difference in are not advertised. People go searching for those people. And if nobody knows your name right now, those jobs are not going to come your way. So you need to get ballsy now. And at that point, I was like, oh. And the next thing that I did is I had a chat about a role. And I was like, I really, really want this position. And it was a director position, and the agency farming it, the dude that heads it up, and I've refused to this day to work or have anything to do with the agency. He told me I wasn't good enough to get the role that I was after. And I was like, well, but I think I almost had Anna in my head, get ballsy, get confident, where are you? And I was like, yes, I am. The next role I saw was the job that I got dismissed from to get the bigger job. And they told me, your CV isn't good enough. And I was like, you know, when you like, have you ever had it where you like, be ballsy, but like you're mantraing yourself, you're like, be bigger, be stronger, be bolder. I was on the phone and I was just like, I'm good enough to get this role. And he was just like, well, I don't know, based on your CV, I don't think so. And I was like, well, show me a CV of somebody that you put through, take all the personal stuff out, and I bet if I present my CV in that format, you put me through. And he was like, oh, okay. I said, right, do it today. And I did it. So I changed all of it over, sent it through, phoned back to say, I'm really sorry, you're absolutely spot on. You've got the format right, and it's a really powerful CV. That was the CV that went over, and then I got turned down for that job to get the big job. And it was because I argued with them to say, I am good enough. This is format, not talent. And literally from there, like, it's been game changing. So I think the answer career-wise was get ballsier quicker. That's probably what I would what I'd say.
I love
It's
that.
not it's not an aspirational story or anything like that, but I think there's
I think it is.
Story.
I think it absolutely is aspirational because, like, literally a perfect example. If you didn't get ballsy and stand up for yourself, you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be doing this role.
You wouldn't be on Firewatch.
And that's really the main takeaway, isn't it?
That is the main takeaway. Without that, you wouldn't be on a podcast with us.
Listen, it's been my life's purpose. I can now retire. Thank you very much.
That's it. Ticked off the bucket list.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, Crystal,
Amazing.
what is your burning question for our next guest?
So, I have put, do you think you can win in leadership or lead an organisation to success if you don't truly believe in the product or service they provide passionately?
It's a good question.
I like that.
That is a good question.
Really, really good.
Yeah. So that is my my question. And I was, when I thought of it, I was like, I'm so enjoying this. So I can't wait to see. You have to tell me who answers it because I can't wait to hear the answer either.
Wow. Stay tuned because we have got a January edition coming up. No, thank you for your time, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome, mate. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and follow.